All right, let's jump into it. Where are we at? Weekend review on 20 to 10 on the Sunday night. So to make sure these mics are working. Yep. Where are we at? 16th of Feb. So now into the second half of the month. And look, I'll sort of start off with DXY because this thing has just been playing out beautifully and really to plan with it all. We had some major breaks um, through particularly the second half of last week, but the telltale signs were there. I mean, they've been there for the last couple of weeks and that. It's like I've been saying, it's the price action around these large pump up events and that. It's not just sort of, okay, well, what's the market doing? And let's assess sort of like, okay, this one bit of data isolated from the rest of it. It's the data, what should happen with it, and how the market then reacts to that bit of data. And what I'm kind of sort of particularly sort of talking about is more the sort of idea that we've had all these headlines, bits of data, which have been US dollar positive, and the market has said, that's great, boom, let's sell into it. And this is what I say time and time again, that it's sort of like, if you're thinking price is going to be coming down here, which now we can see it has, and price target's still a little bit lower, so I don't think we're done with this move. But for the point of it right now, if you think price is coming down here and you're selling it, selling it, selling it, or more in the point of you start back up here, you're selling it, and you get down to this point here, and then some headlines come out that are like, whoa, ultra US dollar bullish and market gaps up and that. You were selling it here anyway. You get thrown a freebie that the market's like, hey, you know what? Let's put it up over here. Hype, FOMO, algorithms, whatever. The point is, the market sort of shot it up and had that huge gap up, and they smashed into it. Same sort of thing that happened through this week as well. We had another little headline here. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we had this CPI data, which came perfectly into our zone, exactly where we've had it marked out. This is why it's important to keep these levels on there because these things, as I said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. They show up time and time again. But the market just smashed into it. They sold into it. And sort of coming through here, endless headlines through here. It's just, look, if I've said it a few times, if this is going to be how it's going to be for the next 4 years, it is going to be an absolute free for all. Absolute, like, beautiful trading environment. Like, volatility's there, things are rocketing, but it's equally frustrating as I've sort of been on the other side of a couple of these trades, obviously looking US dollar weakish, and then, you get some stupid headline comes out. Trump says today's the day. Market goes bang straight up to the top. So I covered this. This was this candle just here on Thursday, and it's just frustrating. But look, the point is that it makes for a really good sort of trading trading environment, particularly for my style of going in and out, in and out. Look, if you're trying to sort of buy something and hold it and run it from top to bottom or whatever, okay, yeah, you're going to get whipped out of these things. So get paid. That's what I say. Like that's the point of what we do all day, every day. Is we're coming here to make money, to get paid. You get your runners and your runners go all the way through. Well, that's fine, but that's cream on top. But, first of all, first and foremost, you got to make sure that you can actually sort of like feed yourself and get through the days. And that's by putting some in the bank. But anyway, look, that's a bit of a spiel sort of with it all. But it leads to my main point that around these bits of data, this is what's been telling. Strong CPI. Reaction was exactly as it should have been. What did market do afterwards? They smashed into it. That says that it doesn't matter. Like, even though you've got the sort of technical fundamental conditions for the market to be moving up, the desire for the market to sell it is greater than that one bit of news and that one bit of data that comes out. Now, if you piece enough of them together, that's fine, and we can see things shift and change. But that's where your technicals can come in because you can see it actually overcome certain levels. But where it shot up to here, the way that it reacted afterwards was very telling. Now, if we sort of actually go into the sort of latter part of the week and that, well, actually, first of all, sorry, last week we were down here. I said, look, there's a potential bear flag setting up. Worked out perfectly. That retest, very good on the underside of here on the second breakdown through here. So bear flag playing out. Measured move of this bear flag comes in around 105.80. Very much in line with these strong areas of support or where we expect buyers to sort of be. Because, of course, on the way up, bounce, bounce, boom, take off. Try to work out where was the election. So this is the election. Remember, there's this as well. I'm just going to mark this out here. Whoops, not that one. this, this. This is going to be a bit of a target as well, which I've sort of said a few times. This little righty thing. Remember, there's still this election gap that never got filled. Back down over here. So anyway, that's just something to keep in mind for future. The here and now with it is that measure move is down into this 180 area, 180 to 145, this kind of area of it all. This is where we expect the buyers to be, based on the fact that this is the launch pad, which actually got it to move up from this last move up over here, which, as I've sort of put out a couple of times, the potential for could be a neckline. So we could see, and I do expect us to see quite a bit of action from this zone over here. I don't imagine this. Look, this could just melt down and go all the way through. Anything is possible, but I do expect at least to see a bit of a reaction through here. So the way, dribbling on a little bit, but it builds to the point of sort of how I'm sort of going to be approaching it, is that till we meet this measure move price target, you sell rips with US dollar. Comes up to these levels where we've sort of got it marked out. Previous supports, tried to support itself here, comes over here, it moves up. That'll give you better entry levels for whatever it is you're trading that's associated with this US dollar strength, with the idea that the market will agree and keep selling into it till we get down to these major price points. Once we get down to this major price point, you clear the book, you start to think, okay, look, we're going to see a reaction here. You get on board with a little bit of US dollar strength, keeping in mind that, there's a potential that this could obviously just roll over as well, but you look for the bigger theme. And as I said, the bigger theme could be a bit of a squeeze back up through this last move here. But people trading this measured move, they'll be closing some shorts. People that want to buy it and are long, think about it. They're getting a mad discount from their previous point up over here. If they were happy to buy it all up the way through here, well, this is a pretty attractive price to buy at a discount for them. So they're going to buy it. So you're going to get two segments of the market, which are going to be going, okay, yep, let's give it a shot from here. And this is why you kind of, clear the book a little bit, have a look at the lay of the land, see what data's coming out, see what news events are happening, sort of just the landscape, assess the landscape basically around that period, and then sort of go, okay, are we going to see a little bit of small sustained dollar buying? And I think we will. And so I'm going to keep dollar weakness down to this price target as a general theme. Doesn't mean you can't sort of trade intraday, other opposite directions, but the general theme of it is to see dollar weakness down to this zone, clear the book, see if we can get this reaction. And it could be a little bit of a sort of move that sort of comes up through here, and then comes down here and tests it and potentially moves through. Because remember, it's the same sort of structure that we see time and time again with these moves. If you jump on the higher time frame, you'll see this. You're moving down here. You've broken these lows, finds support, finds resistance, moves down. It's going to find support somewhere. Look, this whole move here could dribble down here. I have a feeling it will, but it could have a little up and then down through it all. But the point being is, it'll find support down around these areas. Most likely, this is my approach anyway. Whether it's here, at some point it will find support. From there, it's going to move up and it's going to try and do this second leg up. But this leg here will come, as it always does. And I've said a couple of times, let's actually clean this one up a bit. This is the structure of it. As you can see, it moves down, finds support. Moves up, finds resistance. This is the third leg. This is the important leg because this gives us our double bottom, high, low, or lower low. Lower low is continuation. So we're moving down. So now we look down to find support. Look for it to move back up. It will find resistance somewhere. And you look, okay, this is a reasonable area. This is a reasonable area. Back up over here. Whatever. We'll find that. We'll play it as it comes. But it will find resistance at one point, and then you'll give the sellers another go. And again, this is the important leg. This is the one that gives us a higher low, double bottom, lower low continuation. And I think that'll be the time that potentially you see this. So look, through this period here, I do believe that sort of obviously with this, if this were the chart, we see some US dollar strength. So you look to sort of maybe be a little bit short Aussie through this period here. See how gold's reacting with US dollar, because obviously that goes in and out a lot at the moment. So you got to assess, is gold running with or against, like in sync or inverse to US dollar strength at that time? Trade accordingly there. And whatever you're trading, sort of assess it with that, with US dollar strength. But keep in mind that this will find resistance, whether it's here, here, or here, whatever, it will find resistance. And then you will see this leg coming down here. And this is where you don't want to get caught US dollar long if this move happens, because then you're caught in this position here as it starts to sort of swing back down here. So keep in mind that this move through here is like, look, anything can happen, V-shapes can happen, but they're not as common, and that you're going to get a move all the way to the back up the top like this, unless we see a dramatic shift in US data, which that kind of scenario would be very strong economic data, high inflation. They're the kind of things where, look, inflation's moving up, we need to hold rates higher for longer. Economy's strong, we don't need to cut rates in that to help the economy along because it's got strong economic data. Both of those are both ticks for US dollar strength, because they're both ticks for holding rates higher for longer. Potentially in the direction of hikes, but I don't think hikes are on the tables. But that's the general idea. So anyway, the point being is, if we look at this on a daily, it's broken this key support down here. It's closed down underneath. RSI is rolling from the middle. There's a good chance that we see RSI push back down towards this level to overbought. Move back up like this. Obviously not exactly, but that's the general theme of it. As price comes down, hits into this support area, it hits oversold into a support area. People go, hey, look, it's oversold, it's in a support area, I'm taking my shorts off. Price starts to move back up. That's the flow. That's the general flow of how this move will potentially sort of break down. So anyway, enough of that. That's the general idea, theme of it all. So how can we make some money, and how can we sort of trade short term, or how can I make money? I don't really care what other people do, but I mean, obviously that's what it's about. Everybody trades their own book. We're not here to sort of make money off other people, but the idea is basically where we can we sort of see some sort of potential profit. So if we break down the last little part of that trade, okay, we respected these little levels perfectly all the way through here. Every time we thought buyers were going to come in, lo and behold, they came in, a news article came out, bang, came in, data came out or something. I can't remember what exactly this one was, but it's on a 4 hour there. This large spike up here, was this Friday? Early Friday, I can't remember. Oh, that's right. That was headline, tariff headline. That they were going to treat everybody with like VAT, which is basically the same as GST, as a tariff. And market's like, oh great, yes, tariff, strong tariff, bang, US dollar. Of course, bigger thing, a smaller version of everything that I've just been talking about. Market goes, that's great, bang, sells into it. And then you get another headline that came out later on saying, where Trump's actually said, hey, look, you know what? I'm just going to do the same that everybody does to us. You charge us the tariff, we'll charge you exactly the same, which is, in a sense, less than what had been sort of priced in. Because remember, he was sort of saying 60% tariffs here, 100% tariffs there, 25% tariffs to Mexico, to Canada, all these sort of large things, and so basically saying, hey, look, we're not going to start a trade war. We're just going to sort of, if you sort of put a tariff on our stuff, we'll put a tariff on your stuff. And that's seen as a positive, a weaker stance on tariffs, which is not US dollar strength at this stage. So market sold into it and bang, 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 all the way down here. As you can see, smaller little levels that we had marked out, buys, held it for a second. As I was thinking through this period here, you got to be pretty game if you were trying to buy US dollar around these points with breaking all these key sort of bits and pieces and this kind of price action just before it. And as you can see, obviously they broke down through here, retest, bang, broke down again, and then sort of dribbled up into the last couple of hours. But like I say every week, disregard the last couple of hours of a week because it's just people taking profit. It's not many people at the tables, at the desks. So I wouldn't really put too much into it. So look, we're oversold on the 4 hour. It did push up a little bit here. Maybe you see a little bit of a continuation into this. I doubt we'll see too much. If you were to be seeing a little bit of sort of a further push, you'd want to clear this zone through here till it's above 107.20. I'm going to put a super thin little one just here. Till you sort of get above this level here and hold, you're still going to be running into the bottom side of these supports over here. So really above 7, this is maybe an early indicator of a squeeze. But I would say above 107.45, look, there's just so many levels of resistance, and these wicks are just massive. Going down here, this is going to take a lot of work to get back up here. The only way they're going to get this moving up through here is if they're squeezing shorts, where it's kind of like an artificial move, where it'll come up very sharp, hard, unrelenting, won't give you a chance to get off, and then that'll crash down just as quick, if not quicker. So in any event, look, I still believe that we're coming down 105.80 is that price target that I'm looking for. Given that bear flag, they should move. So look, of course, you got to see how the weekend opens. The week opens up tomorrow. But I think a sort of maybe a push up into this sort of 107 area could be a nice little sell to sort of push things back down. I don't think we're going to be getting some big tight squeeze, as I keep saying. Look, anything's possible, but my sort of feeling is a bit more something to this effect. So if you come up into this zone over here, I'm definitely going to be selling some US dollar to basically target these lows from Friday and continuation, because the 4 hour is oversold, tipping up. So yeah, it's got a little bit of push in it, potentially get it up and before it could roll over. But of course, remember the daily is rolling over from 50 and it's looking to sort of come back down and continue a little bit further. We do have a bit of a zone through this area here, as you can see on the daily. This was previously a little, excuse me, so resistance, came a little support, and then obviously flew off here. So yeah, it's no big surprise that it sort of came back down here and sort of ground to a bit of a halt. We would have expected that. That's why we've got the zone through there. But I think certainly once you break that wick, let's put an alert on that one. Might run out of alerts I can put on this thing actually, but yep, okay, we've got a few of those we can put back in. So once we take out that wick down there, I mean, obviously these things like to come down, let's set this alert off and then shoot back up here a bit. But all in all, I think once you take out that lower wick from Friday, it means you're through this zone here, at least a 4 hour close underneath this zone would be great. And then that really sort of, there's not a great deal of support. If you look at the price action around this area, flew up here, flew back down, flew back up. There's not really a lot of exchange through this area. There's like maybe a little bit of a zone down here at 106 previously, where it was a bit of a sort of launch pad moving here. There's a little bit of support once it got above this area here, but again, it chopped through it a few times, and I think that sort of negates this as being any sort of major kind of level. So yeah, as I said, look, I'm still looking down at this 105.80. So underneath that little zone there, I think that's the go. Any sort of little push up to here, I'm going to be trying to sort of sell it with the idea that we'll come down here. Where we did put that little zone there, as you can see, just works out to be the top wick of that daily. Which could be a little bit of an idea that things are going to squeeze a little bit more. So, but really, you want to see it. Well, you want to see it if you think it's going above here. So above 107.20. potential short squeeze above 107.20, just with the idea that then you're actually taking out, you're engulfing this daily candle. But I think the pressures and the flow, as you can see, is very much on the idea that we'll sort of drop down and sort of move down to that 105.80 price target. All right, move on to Aussie. Aussie flying along here. Um, got the breakout. I'll put on lower time frame. This is what I was looking at all through last week. A little recap of where we were at the end of last week was this point here. Finished on a little bit of a negative note. I said, look, if we come down at the bottom of here, we had this zone set up, it'll push back up and still respect this consolidation here. And as you can see, look, it's flipped out the bottom, flipped out the top, flipped out the bottom, all this time and time again and that. But once it finally got through here, had one last little shakedown here. Again, this was a headline move, and it just springboarded up, went up through here, came into this zone through here that we can see. Obviously, I thought it was going to come a bit sooner than it did, but the point is still, as I keep saying, I don't do time, I do price levels. It sort of obviously found a little bit of resistance here, which is those previous highs. We broke that finally, and as obviously it just sort of roamed on here. So when we were at this point, I was looking for a move up into this area, which obviously we got. I was looking to hopefully buy some more back down here. It would have been great because once we've broken this area, I felt we really had this move coming. I mean, I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks, and that move through this area here. But the point is, I would have liked to have added some more down here. Didn't get the chance. They just ran off with it. Now, Aussie's a bit of a tricky one because we got RBA this week, and heavily tipped to be cutting 25 base point. I saw one sort of report on it the other day, sort of saying 40 out of 43 economists are predicting the cut. And if you flick on the TV, it's a sure thing. If you flick on, through sort of anybody who's got any sort of commentary in that, it's a sure thing. And, they'll be shooting credibility, their own credibility if they don't do it, and all this kind of stuff. And look, that's fine. You know what I mean? Look, a couple of thoughts. End of last year, Bullock said the RBA wanted to see 2 quarterly prints of CPI, quarter on quarter, in the target. We've had one. We haven't met that requirement to have the 2 quarter on quarter prints and that. So that's one thing that could sort of go, well, hold on, wait. I mean, look, just because she said it back then doesn't mean that's the gospel and she's going to stick to it no matter what. But it is something to consider. Another thing is that you are seeing inflation globally slow down in its sense of reducing. So we just had, obviously, we had the the CPI in the US this week, and that was the 4th month in a row it had been a slow tick up. They're only small tick ups, they're not sort of like, oh my God, drama. But, I mean, it's moving in the opposite direction, obviously, of what they want. They did a 50 base point cut. Now, I don't think 50 base point cut isn't on the cards for the RBA. But they did 50 and a 25, and they were higher than the RBA. The RBA, only ever went to 450 or so, or 435 or whatever it was. So, these other central banks have got further to move, more levers to pull, to sort of actually come down a bit quicker. RBA was slow to rise it, to hike it, and they're slow to sort of bring it down. But the fact that they're sort of seeing a couple of these things globally, that's also thinking, well, hold on, wait, if the general theme of the world is this, I mean, look, RBA's slow to do anything, that's fine. But if the general theme of the world is at the moment that inflation is still, a consideration, do they want to be cutting and then you haven't even hit the targets that you wanted? Globally, it's coming up with a little bit of a sort of stickiness to this inflation and actually sort of creeping up a little bit. Do you want to cut and just test the waters, or do you want to be sure? That's my thought with it all. Also, on top of that, one of the best trades that I've probably had was when everybody was so sure that they were going to hold and they actually hiked. It was last year, maybe the year before, I can't remember. Must have been last year, actually. So that was a great trade. I think my father got that one as well, so I had a good day. But this is the point that it's sort of like when everybody's so heavily saying, yes, 100% it's going to be, this is a sure thing, the risk isn't there for that because this move down here is anticipation for cuts. It's also US dollar strength, yes, but you know, part of it where it's not like sort of US dollar strength moves you down here. Maybe US dollar sells off. Aussie doesn't come back up like this because you've got to factor in on top of the US dollar strength. This is just picking random points here, but the idea is that then, oh, cuts coming. Even if US dollar's selling off, equities are going up, copper's doing okay, gold's moving forward, commodities are pushing, the things that should be pushing Aussie up, well, they're cutting, so let's keep selling it. And keep selling, keep selling, keep selling it. And it's been quite persistent all the way through here. So, you kind of think sort of, is the shock really there? Are they going to go, oh my God, wow, they cut, let's sell the Aussie dollar? Or has that already been, have they already sold the Aussie dollar in anticipation for this whole move? In which the reaction would be somewhat muted. Now, you could still see a sell-off as a knee-jerk reaction because, there's people, not every, like myself, I'm saying not everybody is short Aussie at this point. And I'm actually, I closed my position. I told you I missed the last part of this bit move through here. But are we going to see a move down here just because they cut 25 base points? I'd probably say not. I would say maybe it could come down here. Maybe we could sort of see a move like this. Maybe we could see an overshoot. Maybe we could get back to our little buy zone. If you get back down here, I'll still buy some because I think it's a pretty good discount. 65 points with a big retest of this level that was obviously quite strong and held. Maybe you shake out a few of these people that bought the break. This is your big back test, and then you can get back to US dollar weakness across the board. So I think there's a couple of things to sort of consider with it all. I think the time to sort of short Aussie because they're going to cut. I think that could still happen. Obviously, we could see a sell down here, but that's not where the shock is. The shock is if they don't. The shock is because everybody and their man and their dog and their neighbour are short Aussie for the fact that they're going to cut. The RBA is going to cut. It's a sure thing. And the thing is, it's sort of like we've seen that. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. That everybody's short, this kind of thing. So if they sort of actually sort of do cut, it's like, well, we all kind of knew they were going to cut, and that's why we've been selling Aussie. Okay, that moment's passed. Now we look at what the wording is. What are they going to say? Are they going to say this is a one-off and we're going to test the waters, in which it could be a hawkish cut? Because the cut is like by definition is kind of going to sort of, well, not by definition, but like the general kind of expected reaction from it is a weakening of the currency. But, if it's already priced in, this cut's priced in, are further cuts priced in? That's another question. How many more? People seem to have a lot of sort of, oh, it's going to cut this and they need to cut rates and finally all this kind of stuff. But if they cut rates and they say, hey, look, you know what? We noticed that inflation's still quite large. We thought we'd test the waters with this. We thought we'd see how we go, but we've got a very sort of steady hand in our approach towards sort of any potential further cuts. That could be seen as a hawkish response, and that could see a move down and then a continuing move up. So certainly it's going to be an interesting week for the Aussie. So this is on the 1 hour, 4 hour. Obviously, we've got a bit of a break here. Came pretty much up. Like this was the line that we were kind of looking at to sort of see if this would hold anything. Not really. I mean, look, it overshot it a little bit. As you can see, I had the take profits up in this zone over here. We did see a little bit of a sell down. Again, disregard the last hour a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see a little bit of weakness with Aussie, just in anticipation into pricing in, because till we get that bit of data out, we don't know how the market's going to digest it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a little bit of weakness in Aussie, particularly in the start. As I said, DXY potentially carry on that last little bit of sort of price action, a little bit of a flow down here. Maybe we can get a bit of a reaction as a retest of these 20, 30 areas. So let's put another little one down like this and sort of say potentially something like this as well. This would be more of your intraday trade. As I said, if I can get back down at 63, I'll be buying a bit of it there because I don't think, given that we've broken out these levels, if we have a look on the daily, on the weekly, this move like this here and closing the weekly quite strong up the top over here, I think is due for a little bit more upside. I mean, we haven't even got to the 38, so this thing could definitely hit our price target and then roll over and then come back down over here. But as you see here, they've come down, they whipped out a whole bunch of people down here hitting multi-year lows, and it's fired up, little gap down, still going up. I don't think this is about to just roll over and come back down to 61, just off the fact that we're 25 base point cut, which they've been heavily sort of telegraphing for the last couple of months. So that's just yeah, pretty much where I'm sort of looking at with it there. Okay, let's flick along. So yeah, a little bit of weakness early in there, and I'll probably look for some buys of a retest. 63.20s. If we get down to 63, I'll probably look to buy a little bit more, and then obviously watch around that sort of data event. But I think the greater shock is, as I said, if they hold. Have a look at gold. So gold got smacked into the end of this one. So like some of these, sometimes you trade them well, sometimes you trade them very poorly. I shorted gold from 38. I shorted a few times on the way up here, but my best short or best entry was 38 to go short through this period here, and then down, long, 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 long. I got out of my last my last long at 38 as well. So just up over here, probably actually this candle here. I'm not quite sure which one. Yeah, it was this one here because it was early moving, and it got smacked into the end of the week. I actually took part of that session off. Well, it was Valentine's Day, so I thought, made dinner for the missus and shorted silver instead. But yeah, so I didn't see any of this with the gold. Let me close something over here. Yeah, I didn't see any of this with the gold. Obviously, you sort of saw things happening, but I didn't actually see how things closed up and finished. But this got absolutely romped in the end here. So where we at? That's a $63 move to the downside, 2% drop, bang. Wow. So yes, that's a big sell down into the end of the week. Interesting where it stopped. Bottom of this rising support here, which got a couple of touches that sort of defined it down here. This little horizontal, the 61% technically of this move along here. And so you've got sort of three bits, and I guess kind of this, but not really. This is a sort of falling. It's kind of a bit of a channel where we're looking for to re-attack the highs there. So interesting where it closed here, but yeah, certainly this is something to watch out for gold, because if this gets a little bit of a move, so let's get this out of the way, clean this up a little bit. What we could potentially see here, excuse me, where's the thing going here? If we could see a little bit of a move up, and if say this continues to sell down here, this could provide a pretty good deep little short, because you've seen this as a little bit of a ledge, a little bit of a sort of rising support, double top. It's oversold, rolling down here. It's still got a lot of way to move this on the 4 hour, and a lot of way to move on the RSI. So it'll take you out of the channel, take you across the horizontal, give you a double top. Have a look at it on the daily. That's going to be ugly. Massive daily engulfing. I'm starting to like this as a short here. I'm actually all three of metals for the time being. Actually, as I said, I'll get into silver in a moment. I shorted silver pretty heavy, and actually did I did very well actually for that. I didn't ride it all the way, but because I had a heavy position in that, and while I was making dinner for the missus as well. That's trading, isn't it? I was happy with those ones. So I'll get to that in a moment. But what we're looking at here is obviously daily big engulfing candle here, like massive engulfing candle. If we get a push back up to 28.95, I'd say, look, honestly, you'd want to sort of be getting back up above 29.10. I mean, look, that's the little zone you had over here. Above 29.10, I'll put a candle up this way. Actually, no, I won't, because that's not what I'm looking for. But look, above 29.10, I think you could see, okay, maybe a bit more consolidation. But I think this is getting ready to melt down a bit. I think this is definitely like I'll show this other gold chart that I put up the other day. This was a thought that I had sort of potentially to move out. Like to me, I was just looking at this. Look at this. This is what you call a sort of like stairs up, get ready, elevator down. We saw this the other day on a smaller time frame. As I said, I was shorting for 38 when we came up into the top sides. Where was it? Up over here. And this thing, if you have a look, you got to get on a lower time frame to see the extent of how quickly this thing moved down. This move here, and it just went bang. And obviously, look, it dribbled down, had a second move up here. That's low time frame. But if we get back up here, this is double top status. Look, it kind of held this area here, but this is again different charts flopping back and forth. That's a crucial level, I would say. Look, it doesn't mean gold's completely smoked, but there's some pretty keen looking levels. Maybe wick fill down here to 64 or something. But I'd say, yeah, like potentially a little move up here, trap in some people, and then we sort of melt down a bit more. Let's go back to the other chart. That's kind of what I'm looking for because we got this area up here. We got this area through here. Whoops. Put that just back here for now. That's kind of how, look, I'm seeing it at the moment. If this does turn out to be a double top, as I said, look, I don't think it's like end of gold or anything, but there's certainly some chances for some, let's go measure move, some movement down to downside here. That's some, where we get back down here, 28, 28, 28. Kind of back in this zone over here. I mean, it was just a little area of sort of like, yeah, little consolidations, yada yada, on the way up there. So it's not super significant from any sort of horizontals on the other side of it all. So it's more just the measured move of this little double top should this play out. But again, look, if you get this move up here, say this does play out here, and of course, this is all just hypotheticals. If this comes up here, moves down there, you've still got another $66 to go. So that's a potential pretty good little sort of move to the downside here. Maybe then if you see something like this, you come down. What's going on here? Boom, down, retest, bang. Something like this. I don't know, disregard those a little bit, but it's just the general kind of idea of structure that could be retesting the underside of these sort of levels. But if I was long gold at the moment, I'd be a little bit worried because that is a big committed sell down. Disregard the last 4 hour candle, as I keep saying. That's a big sell down. There's no buyers coming in to sort of rescue this thing here. At least this sell down here had a bit of a bounce up and then sold down. Buyers came here, stepped up. But, this is I don't know if the buyers are really going to be so keen around here. I'm certainly going to be holding fire a little bit. As I said, look, I think if you can get back above 29.10, I think this kind of area up here will say, okay, maybe this was a shake. Because, I mean, technically, look, it has actually held this rising support here. But I just fear that if this does break, and that's why you don't sort of like, you don't have to be first into the trade. But if this does break, this rising support, this horizontal, I think that move needs to be honored. And you say, okay, it doesn't mean that gold's going back down over here. But, I have been feeling and calling the idea that we are going to get a heavy sell down to shake out a few people because this thing has just been an absolute monster all the way through here. I mean, what we can potentially kind of do with this as well now is have a look at a fib. Should this be the top? I mean, look, this could keep going. But if it does break here, then we can start to think where we're going to move down to. And quite frankly, look, this can still be very bullish. I mean, look, it can come down to excuse me, deeper and still be bullish, but it could come down to 2,800 and still only be 38% of its move through this last run. And that'll still sort of keep the thing quite bullish and momentum to go along to 3,000, because I do believe that we are going to go up here. But what I'm saying is I think there could be a series of this, could be this leg here, because we know that this leg will come, support will come in, and then this will be our vital type one. I don't think this is full all-time, well, long-term high top sort of material. I think this is something that will sort of give us a oh my god, here we go, middle. Start this little sell down this area here, and then it'll start to move back up here. And I think this will be the one that'll get, obviously, either major lower high, find itself a little range, or power through to 3,000. But in saying that, we've had a very nice bullish run to start the year off. A little bit of profit taking, a little bit of shaking wouldn't hurt it to reload and then sort of move back up towards 3,000. And maybe we see it run in sync with US dollar in that sort of regard. I don't know. We'll have to sort of wait and see with this thing. But potentially, if we do see a little bit of short-term weakness here, this could carry through for a little bit. Maybe US dollar running up is what sort of keeps it a little bit sort of on the sell side. Maybe we get a deeper pullback to these previous highs, 27.85, and then we sort of start to look to reload to then sort of target back up towards 2,900. Because as I put this in the other week, it was this week actually, if this thing sells down, that's still only 5%, $152 to retest this level here. Like $152 move it sounds crazy, but you got to remember we're near 3,000, so it's only 5%. It did 2% in a couple of hours. So very much this is a plausible move back down to this 27,700. So 2770, 2780, this kind of area as those previous highs for an actual proper retest. So it's starting to build a bit of a case for a little bit of short-term metal weakness here, I would say. Look, as I said, it did hold this as of right now, so this could shoot up like this. So I'm not going to be first one into shorting it. I don't think this is really the setup where you're about to see the thing explode up to the top side, but it is incredibly bullish, remember. So short term down is only that, short term. I think ultimately we are going to 3,000, 3,000 plus, with the potential, should we see the right scenario, i.e. sort of like a little bit of a break through these levels, could signal a little bit of short-term, medium-term weakness before we do get that attempt. If this thing opens up and then just runs back up, as I said, 29.10 above there, I negate this kind of move down here for now. And, we look to probably sort of retarget the highs at, say, 29.40 and potentially just a larger breakout box, which would be something like this. But I think that's certainly either this level up here, 29.40, or 28.80. Give or take a couple of bucks of these ones. They're going to be the levels to break. That is going to give you your next major move. Out there or out there. I'm leaning more to, as I said, the set downside here. It sells a daily look. Apart from the fact that daily looks ugly, very ugly, bearish candle. It's overbought. It's tipping down. This last little bit going through here is slight little negative divergence. Coming down here is a weekly look. This is a bit more sort of topish weekly. Here we go. Last week we were sitting here. I'm like, look, that is not a top candle. This is a top candle. But these candles don't really sort of end with one candle like this. It'll come up, it'll put in a little push up here, another little high, and then come down here. So again, underneath this daily, so underneath 28.50, an alert on it. Let's grab one of these and put it here. I'll show you that one with us. That's fine, good on you. So I expect some further cooling underneath 28.50, call it there about whatever, there about, you know. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. A little bit of a push up and then bang, push down. You flip that and flip it and come down here. I think we could see a little bit of weakness through here. But, you know, in saying that, if we have a look at the previous ones, you've had high candles here. It hasn't been a sort of, you know, the game's over. High candle here, still pushed up the next week. So we could see something similar to this, where it still has a bullish week before a little bit of a pullback. But as you can see, overall, still bullish. It's just that, you know, a little bit of short-term weakness doesn't do anybody any harm. But I would say we probably have a little bit of push up early before any potential move down. But till you break those levels, if we put the thing back on, I think it's still in play to stay bullish through this move. But I'm short term, given this sort of little setup here, looking for a little bit of weakness through here. There must have been something that actually drove this move, 9 o'clock through here, to sort of see that. We did have actually sort of just skipping back a second as well, some US data on Friday night, which was incredibly weak. Wasn't PPI, retail sales, the stuff here. So it's actually a mixed bag. I didn't see the revisions, but the revisions from 4 up to 7, 4 to 7, 4 to 7, 4 to 7, and negative 0. So revised up previously, but where are we? That was revised. Here we go. Just these two. Sorry, that was Canadian data. It was also revised up. But look, these are the two that we're looking at, and they came in very weak. This is retail sales. 02, even from revised up from 04 to 07, 04 to 07, they're both tipped to come down a little bit, while the retail sales month on month was looked to really sort of drop off a lot, and it got absolutely smashed. That means that people are holding onto their pennies, and you know you hold on to your pennies when you're scared. So that's probably something adding into sort of US dollar weakness, I should say. But as well, that sort of came in a little bit before we had this sell down here through with sort of gold. So yeah, I think there's definitely sort of a little bit of a reason for sort of some gold weakness coming forward. Should we break these levels here? These are the levels we want to see break. Ultimately, 28.50, as we saw with the daily down there. Was that week? I don't know. Oh, that was the weekly, sorry. Did I put daily? That's weekly. Okay, we'll see how that one goes actually, because it's obviously a little way off, so it's not as so relevant for us here, but something to keep in mind with the weekly down here. But yeah, a little bit of move up before I sell down. Anyway, before I dribble on more, let's flip across. We got silver. Now silver is an interesting one because I put a chart up through the week showing a couple of previous times, this being one, more recently, a second one here, a third one here, all in which they have a very sort of common characteristic of a very solid horizontal, deeper pullback, deeper pullback, deeper pullback, and explodes up. As you can see with this one, explodes up, comes back down, retests and goes deeper than those, the breakout point. Obviously, back test, bang, and then exploded on further. Silver, this time, is building, 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 building. This is the chart that I put on this point here, where we got lower, lower, lower. It was coming up through here, and then bang, we shot up. I put up price targets, I built up price targets, I said sort of price targets 33, with a possible overshoot to 33.50. As you can see, 33 sort of hit, and then cruise through, bang. This is around the time that I started shorting it, and I'll get onto a smaller time frame to show that in a second. But as you can see, pretty much perfectly in line with the bottom part of that zone that we had marked out. So again, you don't need to reinvent the wheel for these sort of things. You just need to look at how the price reacted previously. And it actually reacted a lot stronger than I thought. As I said, there must have been something behind this, so I'll have to investigate a little bit. I haven't actually done enough research over the weekend to sort of see what the driving sort of things were around that time that obviously caused this big, big sell-off. It can't just be that you've hit the price target and the whole market goes that way. I did, but I'm not the whole market and I don't move anything. But if we get onto the lower time frame here, as it broke this zone here, which we looked at, it just kept going and going and going, going up here. So it was interesting around this point here. So I was short, short, short. I took a little bit off here, moved back up here, short, short. This actual bit here with the news flew up here and took out the highs. And these, I love these sort of ones when they do it, but they sort of come down here, shoot back up. So this, if you flip this over, you can see it. Invert the thing. This is what's called a high heel bottom. And I sort of covered this a couple of times. I love these bottoms. They're really good. They actually really, they've got a good follow through hit ratio. If I can find a little drawery tool. Where the hell's this little drawery thing? Here we go, brush here. So if you imagine it like a stiletto, that's like the foot part. That's the stiletto here. Bang. So what it is, it finds a high in this case, because obviously this chart's, I've just flipped it, but it's the same thing, tops and bottoms, they're reversals. Comes into its, in this case, it's the high, but just for the point of this, I'll say the low here. Grinds back up, has a really fast shoot down to take out those lows, and then a super fast rejection back up the other way. That's the high heel bottom, and as you can see, it's like a shoe, and that's a little stiletto bit. So put this back onto this thing here, and boof, this thing got absolutely annihilated. And I think I said, of course, my style probably got off, I don't know, around here or something. I did very well though, because I wasn't in it for very long, and I just cleaned up through that bit there. Switched off, bang, whatever, and look at the end of this. You know what I mean? Like, look, I don't look back on my trades, but, say that's here. You could fit how many? What? 1, 2, almost 3x what I did in that trade had you held it through this. But as you know, well, anybody knows or cares to know, I don't, that's not how I trade. And that's fine. You miss the bigger parts of these things sometimes. But look, I wasn't even really trading that much. Well, I was, but I wasn't really sort of hell bent on it. I just had a good position. It was a nice setup, and it paid off very well, and closed out my week very strongly. Like I had a great week. So the point is, okay, boof, that's all very well. That's that trade there. Now we got to ascertain, is this a top for this as well? Because this is looking very ugly as well. If we get this onto a daily here, that's a big, ugly rejection from this horizontal here, which is those wick highs from back here. We've got a couple of things happening here. Let's just do this. That's a negative divergence through this whole, on a daily. That's hit a new high. Low buying pressure to follow this one through. Yes, it's tipping over here. So again, look, it doesn't mean it could still push on here. It's still in a bullish move here. But you've got to be aware of the idea that these things are potential to have a little bit of a cool down. This kind of sort of top, if you just took it into this, if you traded just this and you got rid of the RSI, look, that's a big sort of rejection from trying to break out. Tried to break out, slapped on the nose, and sent back down to the bottom. It came in and sort of hit support, so it just undid most of that move through there. But I wouldn't be surprised if that flow could carry through, and we could sort of get a move back down towards sort of 31.60 or so. It's certainly not something that you're going, oh, yep, sweet, continuation necessarily off this. But that's the bear case sort of scenario, or at least medium term sort of bear case scenario. Something that is positive for it is if you look at these setups here previously, and this we had these ones marked out, you had a breakout, got a breakout, pulled back, flipped around, made new highs, and kept on going. So it doesn't mean that this is definitely out. It's just if you look at this as an individual sort of setup of it all, you could see potentially a little bit further cooling. Look, you've got a couple of areas through here where we could see some, obviously, a little bit of support through this zone here, a little bit of support through this zone here. So certainly I think, I don't think it's dead. I'm just wary, I'm cautious of how this thing ended. And it's important to actually find out why that happened the way that it did at that point. Because if it's a bit of data or news or a change of the landscape, you've got to be aware of it. And at the moment, as of right now, 10:34 on a Sunday, I'm not. And so I'm going to be doing a little bit of research after this, so I can actually sort of put that together. I should have done it before this, but of course, a bit of a busy weekend. But that's fine. You do, as long as you do these things before the market opens, that's fine for it all. So look, it's certainly not looking like a super sort of thing. It did hit support, hold support into the end of it all. I'll be watching to see how this sort of reacts. I'm not going to jump too quickly on silver. It's on the wait list at the moment. I'd want to see these levels here, here, or here, particularly, sorry, here and here hold. You get down below sort of if you get below sort of 3170s, yeah, it's not looking good because this is a big rejection. And of course, a failed breakout is as good as a breakout, but back the other way. So you could be seeing something of like this with a move up here equaling the move potentially back down here, down to the 61%, which isn't the 61% anymore because we need to update this because we got a new high. Bang. So yeah, look, I think certainly there's a little bit of a chance for this to be sort of coming back down the other side. A little bit of support over there. So hence my sort of idea to potentially wait a little bit on this one. I don't think it's as clear cut. As I said, I was shorting up here. Would have been great to have been held it because you've got a nice bit of sort of safety net here. But again, as we've seen previously, these things can break out, retest, and then fire back on. But that breakout, that retest could come down here to 3170, and then we go up over here. So maybe let a little bit of this cool off, let this come down a little bit more, then see if we're going to get a retackle of the highs. Generally, with super fast moves down like these, body feels a nice sort of target places to target. You just got to let that sell out, play out, and then maybe chill out, and then it can sort of look to move back up. But look for longs, but I'm not going to be first into the trade, and I'm going to let it sit a little bit because I'd like to get it a little bit lower to get long. All right, and copper. Look, I mean, let's zoom this in. So we're talking 877 to 878. That's how close we got to our zone here. If we zoom this out, well, we don't need to zoom it out. This is the move that we said we were expecting up into this area here. This is an area where we've seen the market sell it previously. This is what we said sort of through this area here. Should we break out here, this little 3%? We said, look, if you break out this level here, 3%, bang, 3% up there, massive engulfing down here. These metals, there must have been something that shook this market because you don't get metals all sell off in unison like this just because they're hitting these price levels. What you will see is these things hit their price levels. This hit targets up over here, resistance, high time frame, daily, that sort of sold down. Silver hit that area that we sort of said between that 33 to 33.50 target, bang, sold down. Gold resistance from the other day, high time frame resistance, bang, sold down. So this is what I call cross chart confluence. You're seeing all these things come into their respective resistance zones all at once, and then all metals are dumping down. Orchestrated sort of move, it seems. So there must have been something that sort of caused this move. But again, look, if we look at copper, that's an ugly daily. It's overbought. I think this could definitely do with a little bit of cooling off as well. If we update our little fib line here, we could see where we could potentially, 38 obviously is a little bit of support on the daily down here. Honestly, this thing can swing around a little bit. Should metals continue to have a little bit of further cooling, you could see it back down here at 446, 61% of this last move. Gives you a retest at this level because it didn't really retest, just broke and broke and broke. So maybe it could come back down here, give it a little bit of a retest down here, and then maybe look to move up. So I'm starting to see a theme with the metals where they all look pretty good to sort of have a little bit of further cooling sort of through this week. And finally, we got China. As we sort of said through here, this was the little consolidation period that we were looking at, this box through here. And said, look, this break is going to come pretty soon. Come down through here, retest, retest, bang, continue to sell down, sell down, sell down. So same with DXY, sort of drifted up a little bit into the last couple of hours of it all. I don't think that's a big game changer or anything to sort of shift this thing to say, hey, look, let's sell the one because it's the last 4 hours of the week. But I do think that, potentially we could see these things dribble up a little bit here. But I do think ultimately we're coming down to retest probably these lows, probably more important now. But of course we do have this level over here, which we did have marked out daily. That's probably where you can see it a little bit better. Right down to the bottom of these wicks over here. So I still think this is a pretty vital area for the one, but as you can see at the moment, really it built this little support, and as that broke, it just bang, melted, retest, melted. So look, it's a little bit of a slow mover. So what we could potentially see now is something similar to, like, say, this around here, and just have it sort of consolidate the period. Probably not going to see this thing sort of continue down. Again, look, this has very much got a habit of sort of like looking pretty pretty bearish. I'm trying to find some of these ones here. Let's come down here and then just fires all the way back up and keeps grinding, grinding, grinding all the way back up. But overbought, rolling over. Looks like it wouldn't mind moving down a bit. A lot of these things are all sort of moving, and a lot of them are overbought. Even these guys are sort of moving down a little bit here. So I wouldn't be surprised if this sort of consolidates a little bit through this kind of area through here. That's just random numbers. That's what I'm looking at for there. All right, and have a look at, whoa, gold-silver ratio. Jesus, wow, you saw this sort of support here. This is, again, look, I know I say it time and time again, but this is the importance of having these levels here. This is where we've seen buyers come in previously. This is a level we've marked out a number of times, going all the way back through here, back through August. It's chopped through once or twice here, but it's support, 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 whoops, support, support, bang, tipped into this and flew back. Look at the reaction off that, but certainly, bang, that came down there and retested there. So this, again, is going to be a super vital level once it should break. But given that everything looks like it's kind of moving back a little bit, this looks very, very small. It's a 4 hour, but very small negative divergence here. If you look at these lows here, let's just use this one. That accentuates it a little bit more there. That's a negative divergence. And as you can see, the reaction is of that as well. It's a 4 hour, so it'll get a medium response with it all. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if this continues through a little bit and we continue more or less this range that we're going along here. It doesn't seem, it's quite a strong reaction from down here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get this to sort of possibly see a little bit of a pushing up continuation early into the week, and then maybe a little bit of a rollover and just more or less oscillating back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I think till this breaks, and particularly if it breaks to the downside, we're not going to see any more highs on gold for now, which leads more to those rips on it. All right, cool. And I think that's about it. So a bit longer, a bit over an hour, this one here. That's fine. Let's have a look what we've got in terms of news this week. As I said, RBA for the Aussie is the main one on the ticket. We have Monday, pretty quiet through here. Not much at all, actually. Nothing of note anyway. No Aussie data, no US data, obviously. Bank holiday for Tuesday for Canada and the US. Sure, what one's this one? President's Day. Okay, interesting. That's great. 2:30. This is the one that we're looking at. So as you can see here, market's expecting that sort of tip down 25 base point. Shock is if they do come in at 435 and actually hold it. Aussie will rip. If it does come in at 4.1, I'm expecting a bit of a sort of sell off in that, and then potentially wait for that sort of press conference to see what their actual wording is around it and how the market digests that actual cut. But obviously a little bit of a short term sell off if you do get this one coming through here. A bit of UK data. Okay, that's their unemployment, is it? Yeah, unemployment, claiming unemployment benefits and that. So a little bit of a tick up over there, actually. very low number, 64 million or whatever they got over there, 63 million. CPI in Canada is month on month from 0.4 up to 4, sorry, 0. And then we've got a slight tick up here, looking pretty much even here. So again, look, I mean, this 2 to 3% is the kind of accepted target band nowadays. 2% was the target, but as you can see here, slight tick up expected. These, you got to consider these things if you are the RBA, in my opinion. Moving on here, wages staying pretty flat on Wednesday. Got RBNZ, no predictions here. Oh, a 50 base point cut. I don't trade Aussie New Zealand, but that could be a good trade there. CPI over here. So CPI from London, or England. They're 2.5 to 2.8. Core 3.2 to 3.7. So the general theme is that, it's still sticky and there's a little bit of sort of a stronger inflation around the corner, around the globe. Again, sort of is the time, if RBA do cut, I'd probably be expecting them to say, hey, look, we really need to test the waters with this one to see what happens. We got the unemployment. Okay, this is expected to tick up. This has been a very strong number for us, very strong being low for quite a while. If this does tick up, that's Aussie weakness. We've got unemployment change here. This is almost like an ongoing running joke of mine that they spam 20,000 every time. Where's the thing here? Yeah, 20s, 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 20s. I think they got close. They got within 10,000 a couple of times. They got a wrong 10,000, 25, wrong 10,000. They'd probably sort of go, look, if you balance these 2 weeks out, these 2 months out, we're actually spot on. It's amazing these guys get paid for this stuff. But again, look, if this is a weaker number, this is Aussie weakness. This is Aussie weakness inverse. If we get another strong number, Aussie strength. If we get a low unemployment rate, strength. Claims pretty flat for the US. Got Bullock talking on Friday morning. A bit more UK data, a bit more PMI Fridays seems coming out through here. Sort of see how these things generally pretty flat. Services seem to be the general theme where strength is. Manufacturing's not really pumping with anybody at the moment. And then we got the US to sort of finish it off. They're the ones that have been doing quite strong. So again, look, the shock more of this is if they come in weak, that we could see some continued weakness with the US dollar. But at least this week obviously has been that theme of strong data. Market sells into it. All right, that's it from me.